Cher, you won't believe what happened next. The interviewer tossed out a cheeky question, probably expecting a safe little answer, and Cher, legs crossed, nails sparkling, voice like smoke, just smirked. You want the truth? She purred. At this age, I'm done keeping secrets. The room locked in, and then, with a wicked little grin, she admitted there were 7 men, 7 who didn't just duet well, they made her want to break every rule in the book. Not crushes, temptations, the kind that find you under stage lights, heart pounding, thinking, if I don't leave now, I'm not leaving alone. Now, if you like a little vintage tea with your vocals, settle in. We're counting down the 7 voices and the 7 presences that made Cher, queen of don't care, think about more than harmonies. Tom Jones. That man didn't just enter a room. The walls leaned in like they were listening. The chest hair that launched 1,000 sighs, the hips that could file their own copyrights, and a voice that felt like velvet dunked in whiskey. Yeah, that one. Women were tossing lingerie on stage, and Cher was right there in the wings thinking, make room. He had a Welsh growl and a laugh that sounded like trouble with a timestamp. They were both headliners in Vegas, same parties, same after hours, same late-night nonsense, and every time he caught her eye, it felt like the opening riff to something very unprofessional. If he'd ever knocked on that hotel door, let's just say the Do Not Disturb sign wouldn't have stood a chance. Elvis Presley. The king didn't walk, he prowled. And when he looked at you, oxygen got shy. Those eyes, that lip curl, the way he made a room feel like it belonged to him, no wonder she could barely breathe. They orbited the same Vegas galaxies back then, passing each other backstage, in casinos, at parties where the carpet probably still remembers. He had that lethal cocktail of southern charm and wild danger, the kind that whispers, come with me and forget your last name. When he sang, Love Me Tender. She didn't want tender. She wanted the thunder he hid behind the smile. If he'd ever said her name in that low, honey-dipped baritone, she would have forgotten every lyric she ever learned and not apologized once. Mick Jagger. Chaos in leather pants. That strut should have been illegal in 3 countries. He wasn't conventionally pretty, but he was pure electricity lips, sweat, rhythm, and a dare in human form. The Stones and Cher crossed paths at parties and after-hours madness, and the 70 seconds did the rest. Mick would glide in with his shirt open and an attitude that said, I own the night and maybe your sanity. One look, and you were halfway to scandal. One whisper, and you'd thank him for the wreckage. If Tom was velvet and Elvis was fire, Mick was gasoline, waiting for a spark, and on stage, he was the match. She kept it together barely. But one stumble into a dark hallway and, well, history might have needed a fresh chapter. David Bowie. Stardust in a suit. When he stepped into Cher's TV studio in '75, the air recalibrated. He carried a kind of beautiful danger, like something cosmic wearing cologne. They sang Young Americans together, and for a second, it felt like the room levitated. His voice, half silk, half electric jolt, didn't just fill a space, it rewired it. He'd look at you with those almost otherworldly eyes, and suddenly you were considering choices you didn't even know you had. Tom was raw, Elvis was fire, Mick was dirty voltage, Bowie was color seduction in shades you couldn't name. One brush of his shoulder in rehearsal felt like a lightning strike, and if he'd said, let's go, Cher would have followed that spaceship out the door without even grabbing her coat. Rod Stewart. Mischief with a microphone. That raspy purr could turn a nursery rhyme into a proposition. The rooster strut, the spiky hair, the grin that said, I've already misbehaved, but I can be persuaded to continue. Rod was the party before you even got there. He wasn't broody or mysterious. He was fun, smart, cheeky, and wildly dangerous in the way a late-night laugh turns into a sunrise. He'd toss a flirty line, lean in with that gravel road of a voice, and suddenly you're blushing in the middle of a rehearsal. Poetry? No. Unforgettable? Oh, absolutely. Give him one spin on the dance floor, and neither of you would remember to check the time till the morning coffee arrived. George Michael. Silk. Perfectly tailored. That voice didn't shout, it confessed. Calm, polished, and so striking, it almost hurt to look at him. He carried a quiet heat that made you lean closer, just to see if it was real. At benefit concerts and industry parties, George smiled in a way that made you feel chosen, like the track was playing only for you. He didn't need to grind on stage. Restraint was his superpower. And when he sang Careless Whisper, Cher didn't hear caution. She heard a promise she wouldn't mind keeping all night. One note, one glance, one breath close to her ear, and she'd be done for. He could ruin you with elegance and leave you grateful for the lesson. Bono. Fire with a mission. He looked like a rock star, and a preacher decided to share a jacket, and the effect was persuasive. The sunglasses, the leather, the stance, like he was negotiating with the universe. He didn't just sing, he summoned. At those big charity shows, he'd pour conviction into a lyric until the crowd stopped breathing, and Cher would be off to the side thinking, if he points those eyes at me, I'm finished. His danger wasn't just the voice or the swagger. It was belief, unyielding, burning belief. You couldn't help but imagine what that intensity would feel like if he aimed it at you and only you. Glasses off, voice low, a whisper after a show? Tell Street Peter to hold the gate. She'd be late. Now, here's the thing that ties all seven together. It wasn't just looks or fame. It was energy. That magnetic pull you feel under the spotlight. When the band is tight, the crowd is molten, and another voice slips in beside yours like fate catching harmony. Cher never pretended she didn't feel it. She just learned to dance with it sometimes, literally, without letting it own the night. Still, these seven? They were the ones who made Temptation feel like a chorus you already knew by heart. You can picture it, right? The heat of the lights, the sweat on your back, the roar of the crowd, and that voice, his voice close enough to set off 1,000 what-ifs. The mic stand becomes an accomplice. The bridge stretches longer than it should. The look lingers a beat too long. And in that breath, professionalism and fantasy collide like cymbals. Most nights, you step back from the edge. But sometimes, you stare into the canyon and smile. Before we wrap, let's get your take. Which name shocked you? Whose duet would you have risked a little scandal for? And hey, if you love these behind-the-curtain moments, you know what to do. Tap like, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss the next late-night confession turned legend. Because the mic may go quiet, but the stories? They keep singing.